Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. My name is Chris Stevenson. Issues regarding Erie County Jail have been in the news the last several years. Of course, this has to do with the suicides and hangings that have taken place there, causing some amount of outrage, especially on the part of the left and the black community. I have with me today two liaisons for the Erie County Sheriff's Department for the last several years, Mr. Wiilly Stewart to my left, and to my right, Mr. Don Allen. You know, what I want to do, I thank both of you for being here on the show today. And the main thing, of course, I haven't talked to you in a long time. Anyway.
No, you haven't. I just came back from a mentoring program with the 100 we have over at School 69. So
Right.
Excuse my title.
No, that's no problem. You know, this is not a fashion show. You know what I'm saying? You know, we here the South, you know, to at least expose some very hardcore issues,
yes,
and that affects people, and to you know, get some solutions and everything. But what is the status right now? As per the last suicide, just a few weeks ago. What does the sheriff intend to do about this?
I'll let Don answer that right there.
Well,
okay.
Chris, it's good to be with you. It's always good to be with you.
Hey, great, Steve. Great.
Yeah, it's good to be with you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you gave us this opportunity so we can talk to the public, Chris, because I know you're a well-watched show, and we need to get some things out on the table. Mm-hmm. First of all, I can only talk about the latest suicide because anything that's in a lawsuit we can't speak on.
Right.
But as the last one, Wiilly and I both reviewed the report of the coroner. Mm-hmm. We looked and we toured the jail. We looked at where it was. We looked at the pictures and the photographs. And quite honestly, Chris, I have to be real honest with you. You know, it was a suicide. I mean, the way that the makeup of the jail now is no way possible that any deputy or Wiilly Stewart or Don Allen could do any hurt to anybody in that length of time. Because what happens is, Chris, there's a monitoring period. Each deputy is required 15 minutes on the hour to come by, swipe a card. It registers what deputy was there to take a check on Mr. Stewart or Mr. Allen or Chris, who's happened to be you know, incarcerated. Right. So you know, and suicide is a strange thing. If somebody wants to do something to themselves, Chris, there's nothing you, me, or Wiilly can do to prevent that. Right. But what we have to do is be more conscious about people's needs and where one of the things that I was telling you earlier that's going to help resolve this situation is, you know, when the sheriff moves out of the thing, and this is one thing the Justice Department says, you got to have some people on staff. Okay. So if he moves out, 10 Delaware becomes not when, if he moves out, is when, because that's going to happen, Chris. Okay. And what will happen is we'll have 24-hour medical and mental health right there on site.
Now, are most of the suicides happening there on 10 Delaware, or are they also out in Alden?
Well, the only ones I know about are the ones that happen down at 10.
Okay. You know what? See, here's the thing, because I don't see what's going on. You say it's not it's not murder. In other words, it's definitely suicide. Okay.
Right. Right.
I suspect something else. I mean, I've lost count of how many people have passed away there. All right, and there's other people, you know, other people who have, you know, Charles Colhane or people that the other sister with prisoners are people too, whatever. They've been on top of it. They've been out there. You know what I'm saying? The foot soldiers, in other words, who've been out there speaking for these the victims and their families. You know, so my thing is, what is there something? Is it in the water or something? What's making these people do?
Well, I think, you know, and then Wiilly, you know, can speak. I think, you know, going into jail is a depressing thing anyway, Chris. I mean, you know, anytime you're locked up, you're booked, and you're put into a cell, and all of a sudden your freedom is gone from you in a holding center. And just let me make that clear: the Erie County Jail is a holding center. Nobody's been convicted.
Nobody's been convicted.
You go there until whatever time the justice system says, you know, you have to either go to, you know, prison or you go to court and whatever have you. So all we are is a holding center. But all I can say is that, you know, and what I reviewed and what I've looked at, you know, I don't see anybody, you know, doing any murders down there. They're all suicides as far, and I'm not an expert at it, but from what I looked at and from what I read, from the coroner and everything, they're suicides. And Wiilly,
I think in the last 2 years, from my understanding, there was 2 suicides. I believe in 2010. I think there were 2 suicides in 2011, I think there were 4 maybe attempted suicides that was foiled, in that period of time.
Right.
To give a perspective, and the reason I say this, not because, see, any suicides is a heartbreak to the community and to the sheriff department. We have black officers just as well as white officers down there patrolling these areas. Whether people believe it or not, they do have black deputies down there as well as European deputies patrolling. So I want to keep this in the concept of people. Anyone who commits suicide, the sheriff department feel terrible about it. Me, as a citizen, as a community individual, I feel bad about that. They would be white nor black, because it's almost on par.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we tend to think when it comes to our community, like these are all black people committing suicide, which is not. It's about half and half, or maybe even more Europeans, whether people know that. And I don't say this to put it in an awkward, situation, because any suicide is a tragedy, and I want the community to know that. But I also want the community to know, since me and Don has had this position of community liaisons, there's been people that came to us with problems in that holding center.
Okay.
And when they come to us with a problem in that holding center, regardless on what it is, there's not one time. And I'm saying this from, despite of me being employed by the sheriff department, I'm saying this as a community, person, as a person that's interested in my community, that's been doing this for over 46 years, and you know me as such as Don and other people in the community. I'm saying that these things are investigated. And if there were any wrongdoings done down at that jail, believe me, it would come up. Because not only do the sheriff department look into this, we have the state to look into it, and also, I believe, the federal government look into this.
Yeah.
Now, in the last 2 years, they had, I think, 19,000, between Alton and the holding center, they had 19,000, I believe, 840-something prisoners that go in and out of there. And I'm just saying that, we have, the sheriff department has a lot of individuals that come back and forth through there. And all of them are not guilty. Because like I said, a holding center is just what it is, a holding center.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not jail period is not a place of comfort.
Right.
It's a place that we hold you if you do some wrong. Some people haven't did wrong, some people have, until the judges and the courts and the people decide. You see? But what I want this community to know is, for me and Don, every complaint that we ever got from this community, and every week I'm either at the BLAC with Sam Rafford. I'm either at the Bill organization. You can find me there, or Don. Or I'm either dealing with 100 Black Men of America with James Payne and his organization. I'm dealing with 6, I think he's with the Stop the Violence organization. I'm at different organizations, and myself and Don around the city, from the CAO to Gateway to the YMCA.
Every community.
You understand what I'm saying?
You
To the
have-
Delavan Grider Center. This is what I want the community to know.
Father Bell, West Side.
To tell the Bell Center on the west side, saying that if anyone have any complaints, referring something to the sheriff department, they can contact me, myself, or Don, or go down there to the sheriff department in general. What I find out, when people have these complaints, we be the last one to get them a lot of times. That's just as far as like, when I ask people, have you went to the sheriff department to make this certain complaint with professional standards? Most of them say no. And there's not one time that I know that a complaint been made that we haven't took. Now, there's been allegations that there's been complaints out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that the sheriff department doesn't have anybody to receive them.
Okay, so have there been complaints about brutality or physical mistreatment?
You know something?
Of these inmates, whatever.
The complaints that I have got, there have been basically some maybe medicines not being. So, matter of fact, I just did a tour on Valentine's Day. Matter of fact, Don was saying, well, you should have been with your wife. I was down there doing a tour on Valentine's Day because I wanted to see this jail, and I wanted to see how the prisoners were treated myself.
Right.
So when I went to the meeting the following day, I would be able to say and tell this community, and most of them know me, that yes, I've been down there. You know what the complaint I got?
What?
From those guys down there? They were telling me that they didn't have enough checkerboards to chess to play games down there.
Okay.
And I'm like, here I'm looking around because I realized that it is a prison. Now I told you, and I'll say to anyone, the sheriff has an open door policy.
Yeah.
You see, so anyone that said they can't get to the sheriff, it's hard for me to believe.
All right.
You
Well,
know?
see, now, okay.
And then-
How honky-dory can things be, though, with the suicides?
Well,
Okay?
let me
You're
say
right.
this.
You're
Let me say this,
absolutely
Chris.
right.
Let me say this. And one suicide is one too many. And believe me, if there was a way or there was a magic wand that we could wait, we wouldn't have any suicide.
Right.
But let me just say this, Chris. as we talk to the people, and Willie and I go to the jail, we can go to jail anytime, 24 hours, 7 times 7. We can go in there. And if you want to come with us one day, Chris, we'll take you through there.
Okay.
So you can talk to the guys.
All right.
All right, and the ladies. We'll
Okay.
take you through there.
All right.
Now,
Bet.
we'll take you through there, have no problem with it.
Okay.
And what we're trying to say is that being on the inside, me and Willie being on the inside, and we see what goes on, you know, and the sheriff has told us, he has been emphatic. He said, let me tell you something. He said, if there's a deputy that's doing something to an inmate,
It's contrary.
and
to
it comes to
policy,
us contrary to policy,
Yeah.
I will fire them.
Yeah.
See, the
And
sheriff
that's
is
what
an
I'm saying,
elected
yeah.
official, Chris.
Yeah.
He has the ability to terminate you. With Buffalo cops, you got to go through all the union stuff and that.
How
You
many?
know,
How many sheriffs? How many deputies did he terminate for the last, say, 5 years?
He's terminated quite a few. I don't have that number, Chris. I don't want to.
I know. I can remember 1 or 2.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
over the last
terminated
year.
quite a
But-
few. In fact, he terminated a sergeant who beat up an inmate,
Okay.
and he terminated him. And this guy went back to the ACLU and everybody, and they made the sheriff take him back.
Yeah.
Then he was
Amazing.
after he had terminated.
You know, certain things, certain how would I say, issues with the sheriff department. Certain things we can't speak on. Certain things you can't, because certain things fall in the realm of what do you call it? You know, personal information between the sheriff department. But let me, the community needs to know the sheriff have terminated people back there.
Okay.
In the process of
The
terminating
number,
people,
Chris, we don't know, but
the number,
we'll get
I
that
don't
for
know.
you.
But I also
All right.
have to say this too: that in termination, you still have those people have legal rights too,
Yeah.
and a lot of times that falls in the realm of going to court and their unions. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times when the sheriff terminates, you might see them come back through the unions. You see, and negotiation that way.
Right.
You know, and that's be knowing the sheriff. Otherwise, you know, even though he may not want it, you know, because they do have unions, so we do have to deal with things such as that.
Right.
You see, so I want to clarify that. And then you know, and then a lot of times when you talk about different issues, you know, Chris, and this community, and I'm not defending. Believe me, I'm not defending the sheriff department on anything. What I'm doing is stating fact. You see what I'm saying? Because see, when myself, you know, like I said, I'm a community person first.
Okay.
You see, I have another job. You know what I'm saying? I go to every day.
But
I'm
see,
a- you know,
here's the thing. After so many deaths, at what point does the sheriff become accountable?
But you know something, you know, I believe, you know, all deaths, you know, I mean, you know, you should be
Exactly.
accountable for, you know, the system in general.
Yeah.
I think by
will
virtue,
say,
Willie,
yeah,
as a Justice Department being in there now, have somebody from their compliance department that comes through there on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I think he's being held accountable, you know, right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Now, I remember the Justice Department report came out about a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
And so they're still active with
yeah,
the,
they're basically
Yeah.
Justice Department is basically
Okay.
in
The
there.
All right.
okay just don't come from like, you know, when the sheriff said, well, yeah, these things were, you know, the coroner said they were rude, you know, suicide. It just don't be, that's not just
No,
it.
right.
You know, the state comes in
Yeah.
and investigates that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Then
Then the
state will
compliance
say-
person
you
from
see,
the
yeah. And if
Justice
it fails, yeah, they
Department
come
has
in
to
and they
come in.
check
Yeah.
that too.
All
You
right.
see, and a lot of times our community don't get that side of it. But what I'm saying, as far as those suicides, I mean, nobody can condemn, you know, a suicide, you know, in a jail. And definitely, you know, me not. And that's what I want the community to do, that we're working hard.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? To get to the bottom to anything, you know, that may be, how would I say it, uncommon to our community. But what
Right.
happens a lot of times is that we work emotionally, you know, and not on facts.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And what I try to do when I'm dealing with the community is come to you with facts.
Yeah.
You see, because I don't want anyone to believe, and I don't think there's a deputy down there.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? You know, that would want someone to believe there's someone down there committing the wrongdoing. You know, I mean, because look here, they go to jail just like anybody else.
Yeah.
You see in there. And you know, in my understanding, I have talked to some people. My understanding is there are when a person come in here and he may have a mental problem, there are, you know, they're talked to by professionals. You know, they're asked certain questions. You know, they I guess they look at their previous record of what ones they have in front of them. You know, is this person capable of being in a cell by itself?
Yeah.
You know, or not, or do he need more you know, people looking after him?
Sure.
You know, should he be in an infirmary or different things such as this? Now, this one particular incident that happened, my understanding, and even some of the deputies say this guy was a model prisoner. You know what I'm saying?
The
By the
last
fact,
one.
yeah,
The last
one was a
young
model
man.
prisoner. I mean, you know, it was shocking
was a
even to the
trustee.
deputy. He was a trustee at one time, and you know, and just
When
so
you
it
get
was.
time with us, yeah.
You know, he wasn't somebody that would give people trouble or anything.
Well, see, I've been trying to avoid this. Okay, because like you say,
Say what you wanna say, yeah.
if it's not murder, there's got to be something going on that's motivated. That's not common in other jails. That's getting people to commit suicide. Okay, that they're, you know, what's that old saying? You know, if you know, we can deal with possibilities.
You know,
okay. Well, I'm trying to rule. You know, I can't even. I have no speech.
But you know, Chris. The other thing is this. You know, we've made ourselves available, and Chris and I. You know, like I said, you know, you're welcome. We'll come. You know, we'll walk through there with you. You know, you have an opportunity to talk to some of the fellas. You know, and see what their complaints are.
All right.
And you know, we've given our phone numbers to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, 858-8088. Chris, you know, you reach us. We have forms to fill out. I mean, we've done everything. We've gone everywhere to let people know. And we've also even told the legislatures on a certain day, if you want us at your office, so your residents, you can put it in your newsletter that we're going to be there at those days. You got any complaints, come and see us.
Right.
And Chris, and as far as I'm not a medical person, so I don't know what can determine on what can, you know, a person what cause them to commit suicide.
It's unearthly because it's more than this is more than coincidence. Let's say what you're saying is true. All these are suicides. That's the strangest coincidence I've ever seen. What's influencing these people in this particular in Erie County Jail to commit suicides when you don't hear in other counties? That's what I'm saying. Okay, it's almost extraterrestrial if that's suicide. Okay, so now you know you're just okay.
Just like a guy. What do they call him? A mass murder or something? You know, I'm gonna pick on this part of the population to kill. You know, just like I understand what you're saying. It's mind boggling. I mean, it's
but I mean, if we look at both, we got the highest everything.
You also know, Chris, there's also they say what's a thin line between insanity and
ingenious, whatever.
Genius and insanity.
And
you never know what's in a person's
you know something,
mind.
excuse me, for and I'm not saying it because you know how we talk about things, and this is quite serious, and people out there might see us smiling, and it's a quite serious thing. So it's not to the point.
Very serious.
But our community, we tend to ask these questions, and they're valid, they're valid questions, but. Medical people, I can't because I'm not a medical person. I don't think myself or Don, we can answer those questions. What would cause someone, to commit suicide? Because this is a question that I believe all of us would want to know.
But you know what I think, Chris?
We have some serious issues in our
community. I think the move
community.
and the change that's going to happen down there will make a person realize that they can call if they're feeling like that. See now, now the system is, you have to. If they come up to a deputy and say, "Listen, man, then the deputy got to call and get somebody in from the. Then we had the staff right on. Person come down right away. Boom.
Right.
And
on the 13th, what date is that?
11th.
Yeah, on the 11th. You can read this off to your people.
A conversation with Erie County Sheriff Timothy B. Howard. Topic of discussion: the Erie County Holding Center. Wednesday, April 11, 2012, 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Frank E. Merriweather Jr. Library, 1324 Jefferson Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14208. What is the
100?
What's the conversation with the sheriff? Sheriff Howard going to be about?
what it is going to be questions that the community might want asked.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do, which 100 came to me.
You want to bring the sheriff to
they asked me, is it possible that we can get the sheriff there? So there's certain questions that we ask, so that we're not talking about emotional conversation. We're talking about a factual conversation where we can get some.
Well, this is an emotional subject. Suicide is an emotional subject, especially happening when they take place in jail, and especially on a rather consistent basis.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm thankful for that you guys came in today. Whatever I kind of an impromptu show. Okay, more or less. But I definitely appreciate.
Chris,
but we're going to do this again, and I definitely do want to go.
Chris, I tell you what, we'll come back and do your show after we take you through the tour.
Chris, anytime, and anytime you call me and you need me, Chris, I'll be there, and you know me personally. Right. All you have to do is call me anytime.
Okay. All right.
And we can get to the bottom of any questions you want to ask.
And Chris, if you have anybody that calls your show or anybody that's Chris, call us, Chris. And we will take care of it.
And if I don't know, Chris, we'll find the answer for you.
We'll find the answer for you.
We'll find the answer for you. But we don't want the community to think that the sheriff don't have anybody out there that's interested in this community. We are interested.
Okay, all right. Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. You all have a safe weekend, and we will discuss this topic for a greater length. Until next time, have a safe week.